It is July 28th, 2024, and the Chicago White Sox at 65-42 have the best record in baseball. If we take a look at the Major League Baseball standings, you'll see that only the Cardinals and the Padres have won 63 games. The White Sox are the only team sitting at 65. And if you look at our Pythagorean total this season, we should be even better at 67-40. So how did we get here? You see that we have four hot players right now: Cease, Gray, Hendricks, and Wheeler. And our pitching staff is by far the best in the American League. Part of that is due to our league-leading plus 31 zone rating, but also our FIP is very, very low. Our WAR is high. The offense is lagging behind a bit, but the pitching is so good that it has been carrying us. So if we look to that side of the ball, Zach Wheeler is our leader in WAR, and this is why we brought him in as the ace of the staff. And really, we have two aces. I'll get into Dylan Cease in a minute, but Wheeler comes in with a 2.67 ERA. I don't know. No, he wasn't an all-star with us this year. And his stats are just great compared to what they were last year. Finished the season with an ERA close to 5, but a FIP closer to 4 and under 4. This season, he's already bested his WAR total from last year. His strikeouts are up, his walks are down, his home runs are down. He is allowing far less base hits on contact. His BABIP is almost 100 points lower. He is just an overall better pitcher, and I mean he's a beneficiary of some luck bouncing his way. He's on track for 214 and a third innings, and I think he is about to do better if he continues on this track than the AI predicted him before the year. Dylan Cease is the staff's other ace with a 2.85 ERA, 3.4 WAR, about to pitch 220 innings if he doesn't get hurt, and he has received his second straight All-Star nomination in the American League. His strikeouts are down, but his walks are down, and his home runs are as well. His FIP is almost half a run lower than it was last season, and he has stayed consistent since that breakout 2022 season over the past 2 years. Been one of the best pitchers in baseball, and even if you throw in the age 25 season, he has been a star for the White Sox. He is going to want a big contract in the future. We'll probably have to pay him $20 million in arbitration this season, but it's a price we're willing to pay. I don't know about the long-term future. This control worries me, and with his strikeouts dropping, I wouldn't want to sign him to a long-term deal at this point until things change. Lucas Giolito is the third starter, and he's done remarkably well in that position. Most teams would be very happy with a 3.26 ERA headlining their staff, but we get him every fifth day in the third slot. He led the league in BABIP allowed last season at 281. This season it's even lower at 274. He's gotten such great results. His FIP is a half a run lower than it was last year, so the results aren't just luck. He's a good pitcher, and I'm glad we signed him to this extension. Even if he falls off the next 2 years, it's worth it based off the production we got from him this season. And he was also an all-star for us, his second time after 2019. Sonny Gray is the fourth starter, and he's pitching with an ERA under 3.5. His FIP is a bit higher than that, which worries me with some regression. His BABIP is at 239, but our defense is so good that we might not see that ERA rise. It's been a very pitching, defense-intensive team, and that's what I like to do in every out-of-the-park sim I do. But the results have really taken hold much quicker in this sim than I would have expected. The fourth starter at the moment would be Bert Cole. I'm shopping for another one. He's had a good year too, but these ratings have fallen off so dramatically over the past few weeks that I'm worried about him. His WAR total is lower than his R WAR total because his FIP is closer to the mid-4s. He's not striking anyone out, and he's allowing more home runs than his 65 movement would make me suspect. His velocity has dropped, and I've had some teams offer some players in a trade for him. So we'll see if we move on from him in the deadline. I'll get into that a little bit more later. I've demoted two pitchers from the 26-man. Jonathan Stever, who got the TCR, just hasn't stuck in the bigs, and even in AAA in his first start, he got beat up. So he's down in AAA for the time being. And I also sent down Brandon Williamson, who does have a 3.74 ERA and .7 RWAR, but the FIP is high, and I would like to bring in another lefty reliever to complement our bullpen because he just hasn't been good against righties this season, and we have a lot of guys that are good against lefties. So we have 11 pitchers in the big league club right now. I will add 2 more, and we might see Cole and Sewald move out. Sewald has been fine ERA-wise, but just because our defense is so good, I'm worried about this WAR. He's a negative WAR player, and teams have offered on him. He's a free agent after the year, so we might see him move out. Liam Hendricks has pitched very well. He won't, I think, get a career high in workload. He's only projected to pitch 55 innings and only projected to win to save 17 games, but an ERA under 2 and a WAR from a closer is great, even though we're paying him $15 million this year. He's a quality option in the bullpen, and with the team as good as it is, we can afford to overpay for a reliever like him. Next up is Jonathan Cannon, who has made a start this season. He's kind of our emergency starter right now. He's pitched okay, just hasn't pitched that much in the bigs. He's a good player. I'd like to keep him up, and he's a good 40-man depth pitcher. Giovanni Moran is our best reliever on the team by our WAR results. 1.62 ERA, a 151 BABIP. This is certain to climb with his FIP being so much higher, but right now he has been a really, really worthwhile waiver claim. Last season 1.2 WAR, this season 1.5, so he's already up to almost 3 RWAR in his time on the south side. After Moran, we have Mark Leiter Jr. finally to round out the bullpen, and Leiter Jr. is another trade deadline acquisition. The White Sox, in his career, stretching back to 2017, he has accrued the most value with the White Sox than any other team, whether that's Philadelphia or the Cubs. And he spent the majority of his career in Chicago now, but his time here with the White Sox has been stellar, a 2.44 ERA. We'll continue to keep him in the pen. So I'm very happy about the pitching staff, but there's some improvements to be made. 1 starting pitcher is what I'd like, and 2 more relievers, maybe 3. These are the guys that I have on my short list right now. Atlanta's looking to sell. I got an offer for A.J. Minter. I might end up trading for him. Another brave arm is Anthony Gose, and this is just funny because as a Tigers fan, I thought he was the center fielder of the future. Now he's in the bigs as a reliever, and a guy who throws 100 as a lefty too. So we might trade for him. Or Daniel Hudson, the veteran, is another guy, another name that I'm watching. And these would just be a package deal because they want to get off both these contracts and would probably give us these 2 pitchers for cheap. Josh Sborz is also in the trade block, having a stellar season, 1.46 ERA. The FIP is obviously much higher, but the Rangers don't ask much for him in what I've seen, so I might trade for him as well. These are all depending on what the right offer is. In terms of a starter, there aren't many on the block that are attainable for us or are really any good. Tyler Glasnow's out there, but the Rays aren't even entertaining any player that would work to trade for him. Anderson had that great season in real life with the Dodgers in 2022. In this sim, he had a solid replacement level year. And this season for the Brewers, he's even better. He would just be a solid 5th starter. Every 5th day he'd play. And he is under contract next season, so I might see if we can retain that. Actually, the Angels are retaining 90%, so Anderson would be a really budget option, and he's a guy that I think I am going to trade for. If anyone is going to be a White Sox player, it's going to be Anderson by the end of the trade deadline. Matthew Festa, another guy, just kind of an interesting player, and Matt Strahm, another lefty. So I have a lot of lefties and some righties, but I want to add a good mix, and then Anderson, the starter, I will add. And while we're here, I'll go into a few of the bats that I want. I need utility infielders. I'll get into why in a moment. Donovan Walton's a captain. He's a lefty, and he's in AAA. I don't know about him at the major league level, but he's useful enough for me right now to consider it, and he's probably cheap at age 30, and he's only on the minimum. He does have option years left this year, so we'd be able to use that. Aledmus Diaz for the Dodgers is not hitting well, but he is a right-handed utility bat, and one of the only on the market. It's a really scant trade market this season, and not many options for us to improve. Luckily, we're so good that we're only needing to improve on the edges. And lastly, Nick Solak, also not having a good year, but again, one of the few right-handed utility options that is available. Dylan Moore, also on the Mariners, I've considered, but they want a little bit too much for him, and he's under contract for several years. So if we go to the lineup, right now, actually, Tim Anderson is out just for a week with wrist soreness. He has been great this year. Not the fielder that I'd like at second base, but his offensive production at the position is enough to keep him as an all-star level player for us, even though only producing about 15% above league average, is hitting over 300, still doesn't walk, and the home run power it isn't there. Not that we would expect it, but he's hitting more doubles than usual. He's still a very valuable player for us, and the middle infield is weaker without him. Yoan Moncada has had several slumps of ups and downs this season, but right now he's still an above-average hitter. In the field, he's okay. I wish he'd be better. But if we look at his splits, he had a good month in March, albeit in 12 plate appearances. Bad month in April, great month in May, average in June, bad month in July. So I don't know what I'm going to get from him on a month-to-month basis, and his BABIP stayed the same throughout this stretch, except for the month that he went off. So I'm not sure about Moncada, but he's a bat we need. Obviously, these ratings have come down, and I think as of this point, I'm going to buy him out of this team option next season. There's no way he's a $25 million player, but for right now, he's been good for us. Luis Robert is the most valuable player on the team right now by WAR, and it's obvious why. He is hitting 25% above league average, and this season he is fielding like a Gold Glove center fielder as opposed to last year where he was barely above average with the glove. He's also on track to start a full starter's workload in this day and age. We're not going to expect our everyday center fielder to start all 162 games, but if he can make it to 150, I will be beyond ecstatic because he has never played more than 120 games in his career. And if he does that, he's a full 6 WAR player. Now, if I look at his 162 game average over his whole career, he averages about 5 WAR. So for him to do what he's doing right now is very welcomed, and he is under contract for a few more years at a manageable number for what he is right now. Oscar Colas has been one of the biggest disappointments of the season. Only, an OPS at 680 or so. Barely a positive player, and right now that's only coming from him not being a total disaster in left field, even though he's not very good. I don't know what I need from Colas. I'm glad I didn't extend him after last year. His BABIP is down, but that would not account for such a precipitous decline. He has fallen in the ratings a bit, but not enough where you see this kind of thing happening. I have faith in him, though, as a durable player, and he's still happy, so I expect him to turn it on closer to the end of the year, and he's hit better in July than he was at the start of the season. Eloy Jimenez is average once again. He's going to hit around 30 homers. He's not going to do much else. That's what I've been saying. He can't play the field. His ratings have come down a bit. I'm thinking I should have gotten off that contract. I was feeling a lot of regret. Dustin Harris won an early AL Player of the Week award, and he was the guy I almost traded Eloy for, but he's cooled off as the season has gone on as a Red Sox. Eloy has one more year after this and then a team option with a $0 buyout. I'm going to see if somebody wants him as a free agent to be next season. There's no way I'm picking up that option. Nick Ahmed's been so good with the glove that his horrible offense is counterbalanced by that. He will probably win the Gold Glove, and I think he is a big reason why our pitchers are so successful right now. He is possibly the biggest addition of the offseason. Ryan McMahon is also a great defender at third base this year, 8.2 zone rating. He's got a shot for a Gold Glove. Not hitting as well as I would like, but he is an average player, and for the contract that we have him at, only paying him about $8 million a year to get us 2 to 3 WAR is a good deal. Jordan Westberg is up. He's barely played. I'll probably send him down once I make the trades that I do. He's just up right now to get some at-bats, but as you can see, his ratings have fallen off considerably. and he's not even a good fielder anymore. Disappointed in his development as a player, or lack thereof. Kevin Biggio is up with the big club now that Anderson is hurt. I'll probably keep him around unless another left-handed infield option comes along. He is walking at a great clip, but not doing a lot else, and these ratings kind of reflect that. But he can play everywhere, and he's a captain. So if I can't bring in Donovan Walton, Biggio will stay up. If I do bring in Walton, he'll probably go down, is what it'll be. Gavin Sheets is having a great year in part-time duty. I wish that Pedro Grifol would play him more, but maybe if he did, we wouldn't be getting these results. Since he doesn't play defense, we won't get tremendous WAR value from him, but he's a good bench hitter, and with the trade market the way that it is right now, that's hard to come across. Andrew Vaughn has cooled off significantly, even though at the All-Star break, he won the Home Run Derby, which was in Chicago at Guaranteed Rate Field, and in the All-Star game, which the American League won, he didn't win MVP, but he slapped a 3-run homer that gave them a lead they wouldn't relinquish. So he has been having a fun season, but over the past few weeks, he has cooled off tremendously. You see him starting the year 163 OPS plus 158, then down to a league average 93 in this month, 72. At one point, he was pacing the American League in home runs and RBI. Right now, he's third in RBI and down the leaderboard in the top 10 still in home runs, but not where he was. I'd like to see him turn it back on this year because he is the lifeblood of our offense at this point, along with Robert. And he made the All-Star game this season, obviously, like I said. Dylan Dingler is not hitting how I'd like, but I think that his defense at catcher has been very helpful. He's still a positive WAR player. I don't think that I'm in the market for another catcher just because they're so fickle in the way that they hit when you acquire them. And his ratings are still good. I don't know why he's not as successful as I thought he'd be. Garrett Stubbs is the same way. He's closer to league average with the bat, but he's obviously got a worse glove. So the platoon isn't working the way that I thought it would. What I might do is really turn up the splits more. That Stubbs plays much more against righties. I am worried about that 50 catcher ability, but the offense needs a boost. But then again, he's not hitting all that well. So if I find a left-handed catcher, I'll most likely trade for one. And that'll do it for the offense. Right now I have 12 players up with the big league club. That will change once I make some trades. And if we look at the minor leagues, Maui Ahuna is in AAA, not hitting well. He's on track for a full season there. He's unhappy. I think he'd like to be up in the major leagues. I might have promoted him too quickly, but his ratings have been there, and the scouts have told me to. Now I see him more as a third baseman, but the second base is still good. We'll see what his role is with the team as the days go on. Terrell Tatum is now 25, and I will probably add him to the 40-man after the deadline moves I make. He's having a good year hitting, and the eye is so good. He's good in left field. He's trained at first base now. I mentioned Jonathan Stever. Andrew Abbott was up with us for a while, but he was not good. 4.5 ERA, negative 0.8 FWAR, and he did save 16 games, but he wasn't a positive player, so I sent him down. He's starting in AAA right now. He might come back up as a starter if the Tyler Anderson trade does not materialize. Loydell Chappelli, I did believe debut. No, we didn't bring him up to start. Cole Seamus is having a good year. I brought him up, but he didn't pitch well with the big club. And Seth Brown, finally, was not having a good year with the White Sox and only 19 plate appearances, but I've sent him down to AAA. His ratings have declined, and he's not hitting well here. He's angry. I might end up trading him to a team that wants him. Uelke Cespedes is hitting well in AAA, but we don't really have a spot for him in Chicago. And then a few prospects up here in AA. Harry Ford is very angry, and he's playing awful. So I'm not in high spirit about him as a player at this point. Wes Kath, though, is hitting well enough that I am not as upset about the loss of Colson Montgomery, and I'll look into Montgomery and Ramos in a second. They're in Philadelphia and San Francisco, respectively, but he's hitting very well. He'll be up to AAA shortly, and he's still only 21. Luis Rodriguez is another player I'm looking at, but this season has not gone as well. In the lower levels, again, high A is kind of a wasteland. I did draft Rene Lastris with the 25th pick overall at catcher. I've started him in high A because he is a 21-year-old, and I didn't want to start him in rookie ball. We have too many catchers down there. He's got a really good skill set, really good arm. He's going to be a captain. And I only had to sign him, I believe, for $150,000 in signing bonus cash. I don't know what the deal is with signing bonuses in this game. They're way too low for any high picks. And then as you get to the lower rounds, players demand too much. I drafted Lorenzo Carrier as well, starting him in low A. Good outfield bat. We'll see if it comes along at 21. That's pretty low ratings for him starting out. And for our other players, Chris Newstrom I drafted at catcher, but he's probably going to be more of a first baseman. This ratings profile was too good to pass up in the 5th round, even though he's just a high schooler. Christian Chatterton was a prep pitcher at 19 that I picked up. He does have a bit more development than the average high school pitcher, so I was happy to take him in the 3rd round. 4 pitches. Again, we'll just see if he develops as a high school pitcher. Some other guys, Anthony Suzak, I don't know. These younger players have declined in their ratings. Ty Pete's lower. Winokur is much lower than he was when I first showed off him to you all. Same with Parker Pico. Eric Hernandez has spent the past few years in the Dominican League, hitting close to average. I don't know. I'm really worried about this farm system still. And if we look at, we're ranked 28th at this point. It's not looking good. Christian Mania is our best prospect. I might bring him up to be the 5th starter. That is the debate I am having if I don't trade for Tyler Anderson. So that rounds out the team right now. And the guys we're targeting, the guys we've drafted. If we look at the standings once again, Shohei Ohtani with St. Louis is going to win the MVP and walk away with it, having a pitching season with an ERA under 3, currently with 36 home runs. This is the season that he's having right now with the Angels, but a year later in St. Louis. He's just ridiculous, and for $30 million, I wish I cleared enough money to sign him. Anything else interesting? Giovanni Urshela leading the American League in average. Here's Dustin Harris. Oh, he's heated up since I last checked on him. 2.3 WAR. Again, this is who I almost traded Eloy Jimenez for, and I probably should have done it. But I think I would be judged on the trades that I passed up rather than the bad trades I make. Because you never know when you make that decision whether it's going to bite you or not. Dylan Cease leading the league in wins right now. Wheeler 3rd in ERA. Cease 3rd in strikeouts. Wheeler 2nd in WAR. DeGrom is so good for Texas that none of our pitchers are going to win the Cy Young. Again, he had the Triple Crown last year. He doesn't have a shot at it this year with the losses he's had, but he's still incredible. And I'm glad that in Out of the Park, he is getting a late career resurgence that he will probably not have in real life, if I had to guess. Andy Paez leading the league in RBI with the Diamondbacks, surprisingly, and also a negative WAR player leading the league in RBI. That goes to show the old heads what RBI and something like batting average truly mean. Jeff McNeil. This has been a fun save to do. I'm happy about the results. Obviously, I expected more of an uphill climb for the White Sox, but at 65-42, we have some moves to make. And I guess I should show off maybe what it will take to get Alexander, because if we don't get him, and the reason I do want him is because Tyler Anderson, sorry, Tyler Alexander's a Tiger, unfortunately. We don't have any lefty starters is the thing I'm worried about. Even though they're all good, I'd like to have one more. And Mania is not a lefty. I might bring him up to start him off in the pen, given that he's angry and I don't want him down in AAA for too long. So Jonathan Cannon is who they would want, and I'm okay giving him up. I don't think he's going to be some superstar pitcher anytime soon. He's just average. So if I added him, can you take on the whole rest of this? Yep, okay. So we're acquiring Tyler Anderson for free for the next 2 years in exchange for Jonathan Cannon. Who else do you have on the trade block? Justin Turner, but he can't play anything else other than first base, would be a guy that I want. Montero under contract for 2 years and is awful. Same with Hicks. Domingo Acevedo. No. They just have terrible trade offerings. Tyrone Taylor, no. What about prospects? Chorio, we're not going to get him. Tyler Black is interesting, and we can acquire him. Okay. I'm okay with that. And Cade Cooler? No. What about Carlos Rodriguez? No. Anybody Rule 5 eligible that they're willing to give up? Joseph Hernandez. I wouldn't give up any of those players for him. Billy Sullivan, 25-year-old reliever. Sure. Villavicencio. Silseth? I'd like a lefty pitcher. I guess I'm getting Anderson. No, this is good enough. A reliever, an outfielder, and Anderson for free for Jonathan Cannon. I'll add him to the former White Sox list. He'll be shipped off for a new pitcher. And a couple prospects. I'm happy about that trade. And actually, I forgot to show some of the other guys, former prospects around the league. Colson Montgomery is up with Philadelphia, not hitting well in his rookie season. His ratings aren't really anything to me that I'm missing, and we have Wes Kath now. So I'm not worried about Montgomery, and Wheeler is so good that it's worth getting rid of him. I'll keep saying that. Brian Ramos is with San Francisco, also not hitting well. Lennon Sosa has been on fire in Toledo all year. Sean Burke, okay, with Cincinnati. Davis Martin, the guy I lost in the Rule 5 to Cincinnati, is also not pitching well. Luis Mieses has been good in Norfolk the last time I checked, but I guess not now. Sprinkle, no, nothing biting me just yet. And the former White Sox, Ronaldo Lopez, okay. Benintendi, glad I'm not on that contract. Bummer is in AAA. Kopech is okay as a starter, but this personality class is prohibitive for him to me. Jose Rodriguez is up with the Tigers. He's a guy that I would like right now, given our lack of righties, but we did get Dingler for him, which is a good controllable catcher, and middle infielders kind of grow on trees. And Crochet was the last guy I wanted to look at, having an okay season with Colorado, better than I thought he would, but we got Ryan McMahon for him, who is pitching much better. So that'll do it, I think, unless I want to look at who else I want to trade for. I might wait till the trade window to look at these guys and see if I get any better offers. I was okay getting Anderson because he's so cheap. Slot him into the 5th spot in the rotation. Okay, that'll do it. I'll check back in, I think maybe September call-ups or closer to the playoffs. We'll see, depending on how everything goes. But that's the one move we make. Tyler Anderson, there should be more to follow. Thank you for continuing to watch. The rebuild has progressed much faster than I thought. In terms of a timeline for this project, I'm thinking about maybe until we win the first World Series, depending on if there's a young enough core to continue. This was a spur-of-the-moment thing. I'd like to obviously start an out-of-the-park simulation when the game first launches, but I didn't do that this year. I was actually away from technology for a few weeks, but this series has been fun, and I'd like to do it more, and I would like to do it again once Out of the Park 25 comes out. I know that's a long time away. We're only in August, but this has been a lot of fun to do. Next episode will be released shortly. Thank you for watching. See you folks later.